So I've noticed in races that still a lot of people are don't quite have the idea of how this master cylinder size and adjusting it works, as well as how it works in conjunction with the brake bias, and how it can be very beneficial to uh, drivers who may not have load cell pedals or not have hydraulic pedals, or even ones with load cell pedals. But definitely for those that are running like the Thrustmaster, or what are those things called? T3P, the add-on ones. They have the potentiometers in them. Basically, any kind of Thrustmaster or Logitech style pedals that aren't load cell. And then again, even with the load cell ones, it could help. And it all has to do with the pressure of what your pedals are putting out and what the sim is actually applying to the brakes themselves. And hopefully I can explain this so people can understand it. Okay, so let's get in here. This is Martinsville. Stock setup, fixed setup. Nothing's been adjusted. They have it set at the front at 15/16 and the rear at 1 inch with the bias at 48.3. Okay, now I could bring this bias down and still have problems with braking. Me more of this on the edge of not having enough braking power to slow down properly, even if I push as hard as I can on the pedals. Now, people without load cell pedals may be the opposite. They may find that no matter what bias they put in here, they get into a corner and they lock up their wheels. So they may want to go back. Well, let me explain how this works first off. The lower the size of the master cylinder, the more pressure that is applied to the brake. So a 19/32 rear master cylinder size would have a lot more pressure on the rear brakes than the 1 inch would. Look at it kind of like a bottle jack. If you ever used a bottle jack, the jacking part that like touches on the bottom of the frame is, let's say, 1.5 inches in diameter. That would be the piston of that. But if you look at the part where the handle goes in and actually pumps on, that's a little piston about the size of my pinky, maybe. So let's say what that's about 7/16, 3 7/16, something like that. So you got a smaller piston, which the pumping part would be the master cylinder, and a larger ram piston, which would be the calipers. That's the way it correlates here. So if you're going into the corner and you're not getting enough brake, you're standing on your pedals, and you're not slowing down well enough, you want to lower your sizes of your master cylinders. If now you go in and you're locking up all your brakes, that's not just a bias thing, like you're not just locking up the front or locking the back, or if you run out of adjustment, let's say you've got the bias as low as it'll go, and you're still locking up your front wheels, that's when the master cylinder comes in handy. But first thing I want to show you is leaving the bias, not touching the bias, the difference between the extremes of the lowest master cylinder size to the highest master cylinder size. But I will have to adjust my steering offset just so I can make it through the corners, and my offset here to where I normally run. Okay, so 15/16, 1 inch. Where's one? Oh, there's one. Okay, one's the biggest. 15/16 is next side down. Okay, 48.3. I have a feeling right off the bat that it's going to lock up the front wheels, but let's go find out. I want to see what track temperature is. 106 with 42% use. Okay, here we go. This is all going to be about showing the master cylinder sizes, not about the fastest track lap times or even proper lap entries or something like that. It's just to explain the master cylinder and the bias stuff. So if I take a wrong line, that's It's fine. Or if I don't shift, that's fine too. See, I'm standing on my brakes right now to get it to slow down. And you heard it squeal a little bit? Oh, yeah. Big time locking up. Okay. So right off the bat, I know that the bias is off. And I also know that I'm having to put extreme pressure on my pedal to get it to even slow down. So now let's go back to the garage. Well, that looks weird. What is that all about? That's interesting. Wonder why my number looks weird. Can't be a shadow. I'm gonna go back here just a second. I want to see something. This is interesting. Yeah, locking that front tire. Yeah, I wonder why my number on that side's messed up. Yeah, big time locking that front wheel. All right. Okay, so let's go in the garage here. Now I'm going to take, and since the rear was 1/16 bigger, we'll go ahead and can I even get 1/16? 1930 seconds and 5/8 is 20-30 seconds, right? Yeah. So that's 30 seconds different there. 1930 seconds and 22-30 seconds. Hell. Well, anyways, what is the bias here? Bias 48.3. Okay, so we'll go 1930 seconds. 5/8. If that was 48.3. Damn it, was that what it was? I gotta go back and check. Oh crap. Let me load it back up. Yeah, 48.3. Okay. I just want to keep that the same so you have an idea. 1930 seconds. 5/8, 48.3. Okay. Now watch this as far as how my braking goes. Now you remember when I was paint that real quick. When I was braking, I was stepping on it pretty hard and had the little red thing there quite a ways up on the dial, you know. Check this out. Look at that. See how quick that locked up? Watch this. I'm barely having to touch on the pedal at all to lock it up. Yeah, not even 50%, and it's locked up. Okay. Now, let's go back here and get that bias down to where it won't lock up the front wheel. So I can be a little bit more, give them a little more explanation here. Oh, that's as low as I can go with that setting like that. See, that's where you're running into a problem. So let's go back here to 15/16 and 1 inch. So the lowest I can go is 47.4. That ain't gonna cut it. I guarantee I'm gonna lock up the front brakes. And that's the factory, or the iRacing setup. iRacing is fixed setting. So if people don't adjust that, they're gonna have problems. Yeah, see, still locking the front end. Okay. Now I'm gonna set it at where I normally run my stuff at. Now, given I do have uh, hydraulic brakes, hydraulic pedals, the Ace ones, so it's a little easier for me to fine tune my foot's used to it, the feeling of the pedal. So, but if you're running, um, for instance, and yeah, and don't take my settings as what you should set yours at. You need to get out there and do some laps and practice. You know, change some settings, go out there, brake a little bit, see what you think. Uh, go too far one direction, go too far the other direction, and then find out the happy medium where you like it at. That's what I had to do when I first started doing this. Thankfully, after all the talk with iRacing, I got them to, or I might not be the only one, someone else may have done it also, but got them to allow us to adjust these master cylinder sizes in a fixed setup, because before you weren't allowed to. But I would go with front at, let's say 7/8, and I go with my rear at 13/16. As you notice, my rear is always smaller than my front. Always. I always have my rear smaller than my front. And I'll run this back up to, let's say 46.4. Yeah, roughly somewhere in that area. Go out and do some laps to see what I think of it. Wait a minute, did I have that right? Did I screw something up? Nope, that's right. I used to run 27, 30 seconds and 3/4 on my other pedals, but these ones work better, so I can back it up a little bit. And you may have to run, if you're running a load cell, you might need to run this somewhere in this area, maybe a 15/16 and a 27, 30 seconds. Or you may need to go 27, 30 seconds and 3/4, depending on how much, how much pressure you've got when you dialed into them. But for instance, the Logitech pedals and the Thrustmaster non-load cells, you may find out that you lock up too easy at the lower settings, and you may need to run 15/16 and 7/8. I doubt you'll need to run the 15/16 and 1 inch, but you could if your pedals are really soft and you can hit the maximum real easy. But on that case, you still would want to reverse it, having the 1 inch on the front, 15/16 on the rear. That way you can adjust down your bias. Because as you see, the setting they have, you can't get the bias down low enough to keep from locking the front wheel. Okay, so let's go out and try this. Or I'll go out and try it, and you can see the results. I give it the track is 106, so it could be a little slicker. I still got a little, not enough rear in it. Still locking that right front or left front. But what's nice about these ones is I can go to this page right here and bring it down. So let's go with 45.7. Still locking that one up.
Your last lap time was at 20.63. Good lap. That's your quickest today.
Yeah. Okay, I'm still locking my front, so I'm actually going to, instead of just going with my brake bias adjustment, because I couldn't balance too much rear, I'm going to take my fronts and bring them back to 15/16 and leave the rear at 13/16, and then bring this back up to, let's try 46.1. As you can see, I brought that back up. And you think, well, you're still going to lock the front, but no, there's not as much pressure on the front. As far as how how the sim is figuring how much pedal I put down. I'm also not having as much as the rear either right now because I've got it at 46.1. Okay, I still locked at the front. I'm at 44. Maybe I'm off of my number. Then you get to a point where you got too much rear into it and you'll spin around in the corners.
That lap was at 21.64. That puts you 1.01 off your best.
This setup may be a little bit stiff too.
That lap was at 19.94. That's your fastest lap today. That lap was at 19.66.
Okay, so I'm still
That's your
locking the
quickest
front,
lap
so
in
let's
this
go ahead
session.
and bring it at 44.3.
That lap time was 20.92. You're currently 1.26 off your best.
Not locking up as much.
That was at 19.68. You're less than a tenth of a second off your best. Your lap time was at 19.75. That puts you 0.09 off your best.
Now I want to explain
You've just
something else
done
too.
a 19.77. You're
Right.
now 0.10, slower than your best.
You know what? I can turn him off. I don't need him talking right now. Pull that up. Okay, good. The other thing that allows you to do is, as I showed, it was, well, I can't remember the exact brake bias number, but it got stuck where I wouldn't go down any lower. With this kind of a setting, you can bring the brake bias down ridiculously low. I mean, look at that number, 36.3. That's extremely, I mean, that's way too low. That wouldn't work. That'd be way too much for a brake. So let's go back to 15/16 and 1 inch. And bring it down the lowest it'll go again. Okay, 47.4. Well, you see I was below 47 brake bias, and I was still locking the front end. So changing this around to having the front at a 13/16 and the rear at 15/16. Now it's down at 36.3 is the lowest it'll go. The highest it'll go is 48. So you're definitely within a range to be able to adjust this and to where it's not going to be too much to the rear. You're not going to be out of adjustment to give more to the front or more to the rear. You're in a pretty good area there. I'm going to try 44 just because I'm curious. I might end up spinning it around, but you can see how that works in conjunction with the brake bias and changes the range that you have for the brake bias to be adjusted. If you run out of ability to adjust brake bias to the front or to the rear, and you're still locking up your fronts, you're stuck. You can't do anything. And so you really need to have an idea of what you want your master cylinder sizes to be before you start the race, because that's something you can't change, where the bias you can. So you get into a range where you know that you can have more front than you need, and you can go to more rear than you need, and that way it gives you the ability to adjust, fine tune it in your range depending on the track and depending on traffic. You may want more to the front if you're in traffic, so you don't spin yourself out. And then as you get, like, if you're in the front, you can have more of the rear because you don't have to like check up for anybody. The worst thing about having too much of the rear is, oh, that's weird. The car's doing something funny. Look at that. It's jumping to the. Why is it doing that? It must be something to do with their setup. I'll bet you they got some weird front toe. Let's go check that out real quick. I'm just curious. That felt weird. Yeah. So you got negative 230 seconds on the right front, positive 130 seconds on the left front. So basically, what do you got here? You got toes out, toes in, a 130-second. It's just they're not even, so they're fighting against each other. What we got in the back here too? No, the back's not too bad though. It's just weird how it was jumping like that. That's got to be good for tire wear. Anyways, back to the concept here, or the task at hand. Do what this acts like with the 44.1 bias. Like I said, it might be too low. Too low isn't too much to the rear. Because the track is bumpy, you will probably hear that skipping every so often. Especially if you're really on the brakes right there at that bump. I can't. Well, I think I can actually run more rear. 43.1. Oh. That was my fault for trying to beat my lap time. So get on a little bit too hard. Let's try 43.1. Let's go down 42.1. Now, more than likely, this is going to be too much to the rear, and it's going to spin me out. But it kind of gives you an idea of what I was talking about, like the difference between being stuck with the front end, locking up, and being able to adjust. I don't have none of my stuff fine-tuned, so I don't even know why I'm trying to beat my lap time. Anyways, you can see how much better it is at braking now, and it's not really skidding too much in the corners. Yeah, it's pretty smooth. It doesn't really lock up. I'm getting on the brakes pretty hard too, so you know, it should be locking it up if I was at the other setting. Okay, there I locked up a little bit. Let's try 41.1. Just curious. Ooh, throw the back in just a little bit there, wandered out on me. I can throw it back and walk out again. So yeah, that's a little bit too low. No. You'll really notice it when you're on the brakes really hard and you're turning. Like right now, yeah. If you're on the brakes too hard when it's too low, you'll spin out. Or if you're checking up for somebody in front of you that's checked up, you can spin yourself out. I'm gonna go change one more thing here real quick, just to give you another example. So, yeah, 13, 16, 15, 16. So let's go. I'm gonna go with 3/4 on the rear, 15, 16 on the front. Back up to, what's the highest this will go? 44.5. So see, I'm giving less pressure to the front, which also changed my bias. So I can go back down to 44.1. See, I'm almost out of, I wouldn't want to go that much to start a race because I need to back that up as the race goes on. And you want to be back up in the 45s or 46s. So I'd keep the spread a little closer than that. Oh, actually, better yet, let's do this. Let's go with rear master cylinder 11/16. Front master cylinder, that was 7/8. No, not 7. Let's see. Front master cylinder 27/32. Let me go down to what, 30. Now let's go 7/8. 33.1. Let's go back up to 40. Was that 44.1? I think it was. So 43.9. Now by changing that, I'm gonna have actually more pressure, overall pressure, depending on how hard I put on my pedals, to each the front and the rear now than what I had, because I made them smaller. So I should not have to step on the pedal as hard to get the same results of slowing down. And if I do, I'll lock everything up. See, I'll lock everything up doing that. Yeah, see, I'm barely pushing the pedal now. Let's go with 43.1. See, I can feel the back end trying to walk out on me. You won't notice it as much when you first start, but as your tires get worn, the back will get looser and looser. still locking the front. That's got to be a little bit to do with the setup though too. I see my muscle memory from this, the way these pedals work. I'm thinking I need to push harder than I should. Then, yeah, I need to remember not to push as hard because I'll lock everything up. Okay? So easy to do that for me because I've got it down lower now. Make it a smaller size. So let me bring these back up to 7/8. Let's go with 3/4. Oops, wrong one. 7/8. 3/4. Oh, and then you can also tell. You come over and look at your tires, and you can see that, well, temperature-wise, if you start off with a lot of front, you'll have a lot more temperature in the front, and as you work it back, you'll start to get more temperature in the rears. When your temperature starts getting too high or getting too much wear, then you start easily over-rotating in the corners. And so it's just a lot of trial and error. Just remember that the smaller the number, the more pressure to that brake. So front master cylinder goes to front wheels, rear master cylinder goes to rear wheels, and you keep a similar spread in there so that you have your ability to adjust your bias in a range that makes you comfortable. You can go up if you need it or down if you need it, and then you'll be okay. And then you just find there is no certain number you need to have as far as master cylinder size. It all depends on how hard you can push on the brakes, how much on the little level there it moves up. Like if you have like when you hit it, it just boom, you're right there real easy. Then you want larger master cylinder sizes. That way you don't lock up as easy. Now if you have it set so that it's pretty hard to, like I do, where it's pretty hard to get full 100% brakes, but I can, then you'd want smaller master cylinder sizes for normal driving and trail braking, and then when you still need it, you can still get the full 100% of it. Like for instance at the road courses, like Coda for instance, I had it set where I hardly ever got on, where I was at 100% unless I was perfectly in a straight line, like those 90-degree corners, and then I could get it, probably 95% brake pedal and without locking up, where I can never do that before with my other pedals or the other settings that they had. Damn it. Oh, that's the other thing too. I almost forgot to mention that. These brakes need to be warmed up. They actually have temperature sensors in the sim for the brakes. So until you get your tires warm and your brakes warmed up by dragging them, they don't quite work as well as they should. They'll either lock up too easy or they won't apply the right force, or you'll skid your tires because the tires aren't warm. You get these warmed up a little bit here and you'll see it's a big difference. Now I should be able to go in the corner without locking them up. On that bump, it's just bouncing. That's all in the setup. You could get rid of that with the spring adjustment. With adjusting your shocks, your rebounds and stuff. But in a fix, you can't adjust those, so you have to deal with it. You won't really be able to get rid of that bouncing, skidding sound unless you go so much to the rear that you risk yourself spinning out. Whoa, what the? Why did my front lock up at 42.9? Is there something not working right here in the sim? That's weird. It should not have locked up the front at all. Because that should mean that 50 almost 57% is on the rear wheel. Let me get to a point where I have too much front or too much rear brake in it, just to show you what happens. Okay, it started to, and then as soon as it leaned, it lifted the front wheel off the ground. That's why it skidded. That is so strange, this getting that front wheel like that. Okay, there. Rear end started coming around because I got way too much rear brake. You'll really notice it if you go in the corner a little too hot and you have to get on it and you're turning. Like that, right there. I'm so used to saving it that I didn't think about letting it go. No, that one, it saved itself. I may have just worn out that front tire doing this. Because I can't believe it's still skidding like that. That is interesting. I've never ran my bias this low. Now there, I can feel it definitely. I don't know if you can tell. I can definitely feel it back in, wandering out on it. I can't believe it's still blocking my front wheel. That is insane. Yeah, with these bumps, maybe this was a bad track to show with this example. But if you try that, get out there and try it. Feel free to adjust it. To find the extremes. Find where it's too small of a master cylinder and you're locking up front and locking up rear. Find where you get to the master cylinder sizes right where you can lock up with somewhere in the, a good bias range. You can lock up the front, but then you can get to where if you have to hammer on it, you can lock them up, but you don't do it every time. It works really good at other this master cylinder stuff works good at oval tracks like this, not just short tracks, but bigger tracks like let's say Nashville Super Speedway. Works good there because you have to do a lot of braking in the corners. Pocono's a big one where you have to brake in, one and three, and not so much in two. It helps there. Of course, any of the road courses, and just get used to, where, on road courses where you're going straight braking, you can have more rear brake. You can actually have more total braking power put down on the ground. On a track like this, where you're in the corners and you're leaning so much, you're slowing down so much, and the car's leaning so much, and a fixed setup, it's lifting that front power off. Like Sonoma is another place where the front wheels, you'll end up blocking them up, so you have to mess around with getting more rear brake, but being at that fine line where you don't get too much rear brake and spin yourself out. And also remember to set something up so that you can adjust your bias during the race, because in order for this to work properly, you have to be able to either adjust more front bias as the car gets looser, or if the car gets tighter, to adjust more rear bias to help compensate. And on tracks where you're overheating your right front, being able to adjust more to the rear on your brakes helps you to turn in the corners, and also helps to alleviate that overheating of the right front tire. So basically what I wanted to point out was the sizes matter as far as the pressure goes. First off and foremost, if you have a pedal that is real easy to push and get 100% of the travel in the, let's see, go over here in this. If you have a pedal where you can push real easy and it goes to 100%, then you're going to want to have your master cylinder sizes larger, or you'll lock up too easy. If you have your pedal set up like I do, to where now that's, I mean, I can push it all the way up. That's not a problem. But ooh, my chair moved. But the way I have my chair set up and stuff, usually when I'm driving, I'll say about there's my maximum I would probably be braking, and that's I can, and with my pedals are set up, I got 2-stage pedals, so right about there I'm hitting second stage of my pedal, so my pedal won't move any farther from there. My pedal is now at its maximum travel, and all that is just pressure on the pedal. It's physically not moving anymore. It's just the amount of pressure I'm putting on it. From here back, the pedal moves. So works really good for me for trail braking, because I can go like that, so I can feel it. Boom, I'm at that stop, and that's what 45% from there. So that's why I can run a lot lower master cylinder size and not be locking up every single corner, all the wheels and whatnot. And if you, like I said, if you find you're locking up, make your master cylinder size smaller, and then when you find the right master cylinder size you think it is, then you mess with your bias to get it to where you're stable in the corners, you're not locking up your front. If you run out of bias adjustment either direction, then you need to take, if you run out, let's say you run out of bias adjustment the lower end, so more towards the rear, less to the front, then you'll need to make your rear master cylinder size smaller, and that'll adjust it so that you can get more to the rear. If you find out that you've adjusted it to where now you're going in the corner, you're hitting the brakes and the back end's coming around on you, and you've got the master cylinder all the way to the front as far as it'll go, like let's say 46% or 47%, and you're still, well, let's just go 48%, and you're still finding out that you're locking up your rear wheels as a problem, then you'll need to make your rear master cylinder size larger, and that'll take pressure off the rear, and then you'll be able to adjust your bias higher to get up maybe in the 50s or whatever. I doubt you'll ever need to do that. I think the good range is like 40, where I usually run, I think it's like 44 to 47, and that, happy range there. Of course, earlier when I was messing around with this, I was down in 30s, but there's no way I'd ever run in a race, because after a few laps, I would have so much problem keeping the car from coming around on me. And if anybody checked up, especially this track, guaranteed after a few laps, I would having the car spin out on me, going in the corners. So if you can, get your master cylinder sizes, so or your master cylinder is the right size to where you can be between 48 and 44, so that those two numbers are in your range with your split, whatever your split is, then you can bring them up or down depending on how it feels in the corners. And as you play with them, you'll get used to how it feels. And if you have any questions or anything, you guys, you can leave comments, or if you're in one of the leagues I'm in, feel free to send me a message on Discord or whatever. I'll be more than happy to, do what I can help. It took me a while to figure this out, but since I've been in mechanics since I was like in 5th grade, working with my dad on the diesel trucks and stuff, I kind of, concept pretty much came to me right off the bat. I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense. So anyways, I just doing it, so hopefully it helps. Well, I'm gonna go try to do some practice for other stuff. So thanks for checking us out, and like I said, hopefully it helps. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment.